Lydia stood in front of her mirror, brushing her long blonde hair that cascaded down her back in waves. She had worn her hair this way for years, and everyone always told her how beautiful it was. Friends and family would say things like, "You're so lucky to have hair like that," or "You look so youthful with long hair." And yet, here she was, 40 years old, feeling restless, as if the person staring back at her wasn't fully her. When she was younger, her hair had been a symbol of confidence and freedom. But now it felt like a comfort zone she was ready to leave behind. She wanted a change, something bold, something that felt like her life now. Not the life she had once imagined. As if on cue, her husband, Tom, called out from downstairs. "Lydia, I've got a haircut appointment in half an hour. Want to come along?" She paused, wondering if tagging along might provide some inspiration, a glimpse of something different. She called back, "Sure, I'll come with you." She grabbed her bag and followed Tom out the door, a subtle excitement brewing in her chest. The hair salon buzzed with activity, the scent of shampoo and hairspray filling the air. Lydia watched Tom settle into the chair, chatting casually with the hairdresser, Mark, who was an old friend of theirs. Mark had been cutting Tom's hair for years, and Lydia had always appreciated his friendly, down-to-earth style. She sat back in one of the waiting chairs, leafing through a magazine, half paying attention as she looked at the styles on each page. She saw a woman with a short pixie, another with a sleek bob, and then, suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. One of the pages showed a woman with a striking buzz cut with shaved sides, an intense, bold style that demanded attention. Lydia couldn't help but stare, captivated. Tom's voice brought her back to reality. "All done," he said, grinning at her from the mirror. His hair was neatly trimmed, the clean-cut style that suited him perfectly. Lydia stood, heart still pounding with a sudden urge she hadn't expected. As Mark tidied up his tools, she looked at him, hesitant yet determined. "Mark," she said, her voice steady. "Do you have time for one more?" Mark raised an eyebrow, surprised. "For you, Lydia?" "Always. What can I do for you?" She hesitated, glancing at the reflection of her long hair in the mirror. This was it. The moment to let go of her comfort zone and step into something new. She took a breath and smiled. "Do something completely different," she said, her eyes twinkling. "Something that will make me feel like a new person." Mark's face broke into a grin. "Now that's a challenge I'm excited for." Lydia settled into the chair, watching as Mark inspected her hair with a critical eye. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice gentle. "This is a big change." She nodded, more certain than she'd been about anything in a long time. "I'm ready. Just do whatever you think will suit me." Mark turned the chair so Lydia faced away from the mirror, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "I've got just the thing in mind. Trust me, Lydia." The sound of the clippers buzzing to life made her heart pound, but she kept her gaze forward, focusing on the feeling of anticipation. She closed her eyes, surrendering to the experience. Mark worked swiftly, his hands moving with expert precision as the buzzing sound became a soothing hum. The transformation was underway. Lydia could feel the weight of her long hair being lifted, the strands falling away. It felt freeing, exhilarating. She opened her eyes only briefly, catching glimpses of her blonde locks piling on the floor around her, remnants of her old self. But she felt no regret, only excitement. When Mark finally turned off the clippers, he brushed off her shoulders and took a step back. "All right, Lydia. You ready to see the new you?" Lydia took a deep breath. "Let's see it." Mark turned the chair back toward the mirror and her eyes widened in shock, quickly followed by pure joy. Her long, flowing locks were gone, replaced by a crisp, bold buzz cut with shaved sides. The top was short and even, while the sides were shaved down to a soft fuzz, creating a sharp, structured look that gave her an air of confidence she'd never felt before. "Oh my God," she breathed, reaching up to touch the unfamiliar texture of her hair. "This is incredible." Mark grinned. I knew you could pull it off. It suits you, Lydia. You look fantastic. Lydia couldn't stop smiling. The buzz cut was daring and edgy, the exact change she had been craving. She felt like a completely new person, empowered, confident, and ready to take on the world. She ran her hand over the soft, bristly top, savoring the texture and the way it felt so different. "Thank you, Mark," she said, beaming. "This is exactly what I needed." When Lydia and Tom arrived home, their daughter Mia was waiting for them in the living room, her face buried in her phone. She glanced up as they walked in, and her eyes widened as she took in her mother's new look. "Mom," she exclaimed, dropping her phone. "Oh my gosh, you look amazing." Lydia felt a rush of warmth at Mia's reaction. She had worried her daughter might find the drastic change too extreme, but Mia's wide smile was all the validation she needed. "Thanks, honey," Lydia said, smiling. "I wanted something different, and I think I found it." Mia walked over, studying her mother's new haircut with fascination. "I love it. It's so cool and different. It makes you look powerful." Lydia chuckled. "That's how I feel. I needed a change, and this was exactly it." Mia touched her own long hair thoughtfully. "You know, I've always wanted to try something different too. Maybe even a flat top, like yours." Lydia's eyes lit up. "Are you serious?" Mia nodded, grinning. "Yeah, it's such a bold look, and I think it would be fun to do something different with you." The next morning, Lydia and Mia made their way to the salon together, sharing a sense of excitement and camaraderie. It felt like an adventure, something they were doing not only for themselves but with each other. As they stepped into the salon, Mark greeted them with a grin. "Back so soon, Lydia? And with a partner in crime this time, I see." Lydia laughed, nodding toward Mia. "She wants to go for the same style. We thought it would be a fun mother-daughter thing." Mark chuckled, clearly delighted. "I love it. All right, Mia, are you ready?" Mia took a deep breath, glancing at her mother for reassurance. Lydia squeezed her hand. "It's just hair, sweetheart. And if you don't like it, it'll grow back. But I think you're going to love it." With that, Mia settled into the chair, her excitement evident in the way she kept tapping her foot. Mark draped a cape around her shoulders, and the buzzing of the clippers started again. Mia closed her eyes, smiling as the long strands began to fall away. Lydia watched with pride, thrilled that her daughter was embracing the change alongside her. When the transformation was complete, Mia looked in the mirror, her jaw dropping in awe. Her long, dark hair had been replaced by a sharp, edgy flat top, mirroring her mother's style perfectly. She reached up to feel the shape of it, her smile growing wider. "This is amazing," Mia exclaimed. "I love it." Lydia grinned, watching her daughter's reaction with joy. They looked at each other, both sporting the same bold, unconventional haircut, and shared a laugh. The two of them had taken a risk, stepped out of their comfort zones, and found a new bond in the process. Mark took a step back, admiring his work. "You two look incredible. A matching mother-daughter flat top. Definitely a first for me." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of compliments and reactions. Friends, family, and even strangers stopped them to comment on their bold looks. Some were surprised, others thrilled, and a few even inspired to try something new themselves. Lydia and Mia found themselves glowing with confidence, embracing the change wholeheartedly. At family gatherings, Lydia's sisters marveled at her daring choice. Her friend Sarah, who had always admired Lydia's long hair, was particularly intrigued. "I never thought you'd go for something like this," Sarah said, inspecting Lydia's flat top. "But honestly, it suits you so well. It's like you've always had this side of you, and now we finally get to see it." Mia, too, noticed how her friends were fascinated by her new look. Some were hesitant, admitting they could never pull off such a style, but a few were inspired, talking about possibly trying shortcuts themselves. One day, Mia's best friend Jasmine approached her at school. "I have to say, Mia, you look so cool with that cut. I never would have thought to try something like that, but now I'm kind of tempted." Mia smiled, feeling proud. "Do it. You won't regret it. It's so freeing." The decision to embrace the flat top became a catalyst for change in other areas of Lydia's and Mia's lives. Lydia found herself more adventurous in her wardrobe, experimenting with bold colors and edgy styles that she'd once avoided. She started a blog about her journey, sharing her story and encouraging other women to embrace change in their own lives. Mia, on the other hand, grew more self-assured, confident in her choices and less concerned with fitting in. Her haircut became a symbol of her willingness to stand out, to be true to herself. She found herself drawn to art, exploring her creative side through painting and sketching, expressing herself in ways she hadn't before. Mother and daughter grew closer through their shared experience, finding strength in each other and their journey toward self-discovery. They had stepped out of their comfort zones, broken away from their previous identities, and embraced something new. And in doing so, they had inspired others around them to do the same.